Hi, welcome back to Authors on the Air. I'm James Latwell, your host, and with us today we have Robert Crais, who's going to talk with us about his newest release, The Big Empty, another Elvis Cole and Joe Pike book. This is the 20th in the series, Robert. And my God, how have you done this?
I, I just, you know what, Jim, if you had asked me when I wrote the first book, if there would be 20 books, I would have laughed in your face and said, "Hey, let's just go drinking."
Yeah,
I never anticipated this, but of course, once the ball got rolling, it's just grown. And now at this late date, I mean, Elvis Cole is what I do.
yeah,
He's been in my head for, I don't know, 300 million years. And I always have new stories to tell, so I'll just keep telling them.
yeah. No, and this one, folks I think are going to love The Big Empty. You want to give us a little bit of the story behind that this new one?
Uh, wha- so a young woman contacts Elvis Cole. She's 23. She's a very successful internet influencer known as the baker next door. Tracy Beller has this great, approachable girl next door quality. And maybe that's why she's so successful because she's not famous because she flies around in private jets and slips out of Ferraris and slinky gowns and any of that stuff. She just bakes muffins, and people really enjoy watching her bake muffins and want to be her best friend. And that's what they call in show business the it quality.
Mm,
She's magnetic to people. Um, she has the 8.2 million followers. She has cookbook deals. She does guest spots on the Today Show. But she is not happy because 10 years earlier, when she was a young girl, 13, her dad, who was the guy who taught her to bake, she was like the world's greatest dad, and she adored him. He went to work one day. He was a refrigeration heating guy. He went to work one day and he never came home. So mom called the cops and, missing persons. My husband, I think he was in an auto accident, blah, blah, blah. The cops investigated. They poked around. They looked, they prodded, and they came back to mom and they said, you know what? He just vanished. And we have to say in cases like this, adult male, family, when he disappears, 99% of the time, it's called a voluntary absence, meaning the guy just split.
right.
So 5 years later, mom has him declared dead. But to do that, she has to hire some first-rate detectives. They look for dad again. They do a much more thorough job than the cops did. They really dig into the investigation. But at the end of the day, they come back, voluntary absence, just split. Tracy could never accept that. Mom did. Mom was angry, and it's justifiable, but Tracy couldn't accept it. He was the perfect dad. And like I said, she adored him. But now, 10 years after the fact, with her 8.2 million followers and all those business deals she has going, she's got the money to hire her own detective. So she hires Elvis Cole, the world's greatest. And that's how the book launches.
Yeah, and it jumps right off the page from the beginning. I mean, you do such a great job with characters, and I won't call them secondary characters because they're really supporting characters like Tracy and even Anya and her mother that come into the story. I
Yep.
mean, they're really well woven into the texture of this whole story, and they aren't extra characters. You pull one of them out, and it's a different story. So
It
it
is. I don't. I don't think of any of the characters as secondary characters or placeholders.
mhm.
I've never approached. Um, I've never approached any of my characters that way. And on TV shows, they have a name for it. Or used to, like the continuing characters. You see
Mhm.
they call family players. It's all part of the TV family. Well, Elvis Cole has. I think of them as my family players, and the guest players like Tracy Beller, like the
Mhm.
other two um, women characters in the book, Sadie Gibbon and her daughter Anya. Um, I mean, when I'm writing, I strive to make them real and as multi-dimensional and as multifaceted and layered as Elvis, as Joe,
Yeah.
or how briefly they might be in the book. John Chen is a great example.
Yes.
Me, I use him, I think, to great effect, comic relief, but, John is a full-rounded character too. I wouldn't know how to do this any other way. I mean, it's just how I approach writing.
Yeah, and I think the readers appreciate that because it's an experience when you get into, Elvis's world and Joe Pike. I mean, 20 books in, how do you keep not only keep it fresh, the series, but I mean, it just keeps ramping up with every story that you release in this universe. How do you do that? That's kind of like black magic.
Well, I'm amazing. I
Yes,
got
yes,
you,
you
Jim.
are.
Jim, I got you, didn't I? Yeah.
Little bit.
Uh, no, look, uh, every book that I write is important to me.
Mm,
Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why I don't write as quickly as a lot of people would like me to do. But every book is important in some deep way to me. It's a story I want to tell about characters I really want to spend time with. And when I say spend time with, I mean learn about, I mean explore, I mean um, just be there in the moment when
right.
I'm writing with, because I find something about them valuable for me as a person, me as a writer. Um, and and as long as I'm doing that, and as long as with each book I learn more about Elvis, I learn more about Joe,
Mhm.
uh, then each book is even more interesting to me than the last book. Um, and that's what keeps me compelled to do it. And I think as long as I'm feeling that way about my work, hopefully it's translating to my readers, and my readers feel the same thing. It isn't just like episode 20 in the continuing series of Joe Mannix. It's it's these are novels. The
Mhm.
Big Empty is a novel. Hopefully, it's a full and complete and deep, rich experience for the reader.
Yeah, and I think readers will find it, exactly what you described. But you have this pack of rabid followers, readers. I mean, they call themselves crazies.
Yeah.
And they come up with the Joe Pike tattoos, and I mean, what is it about Elvis and Joe that resonate with readers to make them just get on fire like this?
I love these people, and they're really enthusiastic fans of the work, and I think it's because Elvis and Joe embody something uh, that hopefully, I mean, I don't know, I'm making this stuff up, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
uh, but Elvis Cole's Los Angeles becomes real to the reader. I mean, as a writer, I want that, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if I'm doing my job properly, um, that should be the goal. That when a reader's reading the book, they vanish into the book. I mean, I'm a reader first, right? All writers are
Right,
readers first.
right.
You are. I mean, look at all the books in your room. I mean, um, and I love that. I love to pick up a book and start to read, and then suddenly I'm there. I'm in that other place. Okay, well, I want the same for my readers. They're in Elvis Cole's Los Angeles. Uh, they're sharing the adventure with Elvis and Joe and Tracy and Sadie and Anya and all the others.
Mhm.
And those characters momentarily become real. And um, Elvis and Joe, they're people, and I'm fortunate for this, lucky for this, but the reader invests in them, likes them, actually likes them,
Yeah.
and emotionally invests in them, and enjoys spending time with them, just the same way I enjoy spending time with them. And and their qualities to Elvis and Joe that people just embrace that, and the enthusiasm is overwhelming. I mean, I'm actually touched by it that people are so inspired. The Crais are great friends. I mean, and great fun. I mean, some of them I've known since the very first LA Times Festival of Books that I attended,
Wow.
which is,
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even know, the Crais call themselves the Crais, but they started bonding together way back in the AOL days when I first had a message board, and they started talking to each other, and then it just sort of grew, and uh, now they're still on like my Facebook and X and all this stuff. But I look, you know what it is? It's the ultimate compliment to a writer that the work I've done has touched people in such a way that and gives them such pleasure that they're so enthusiastic that they're great. They're just the best.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really something to see when you start see them in the social media chats talking to each other, and it's like, okay, they've found this, and there's magic here. And it's my hat's off to you. It's tremendous. But I really enjoy the story. I mean, you bring the reader right into that world, that Los Angeles, and you really get a sense for what's going on in the Inland Empire and everything down there. That adds a whole layer of texture to the stories for Elvis and Joe.
Well, I try to, and in the title of this book, "The Big Empty," it, means can mean many things attached to this book.
Yeah.
A lot of the story where, and this is where Tracy's dad disappeared, as a small town. It's fictional, called Rancho, California, but it's in an area that's very real on the western end of the San Fernando Valley near Calabasas.
Mm,
And back in the day, it's where old studio westerns were filmed, and they were filmed there because it's like dry rolling hills filled with dead plants,
right.
uh, because it's super dry and hot out there in the summer. And it's a little bit, it's a bit more built up now, but it's still like that. You drive out there and you look around in summer, and it's like dry rolling hills filled with dead plants. It's empty.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the emptinesses that I thought it'd be a great place to have him disappear, because it gets Elvis out of the city and into this um, area he's unfamiliar with, that by its nature is empty, and the emptiness is overwhelming. At
Yeah.
the same time, the emptiness could refer to the hole in your heart when you lose something dear to you.
Yeah.
And several of the characters in this book have that emptiness in them, and I think in many ways the task for Elvis uh, in this book is on one level to try to fill the emptiness, but if he can't do that, then to try to make it bearable,
Right.
and that puts him in a very tough position.
It does. I mean, and the book kind of lets this play out as we go along. Let's change up a little bit and do something a little different.
Sure.
Okay, I want to put Joe Pike in a room with Orphan X, with Greg Hurwitz's character.
Sure.
What does that sound like? What's the conversation that happens in that room?
Well, it's one-sided. I mean, Evan probably has a lot to say, but Joe's just going to stand there and not say very much.
That's probably very true.
Yeah, you get bored after a while. I love Evan. Evan's a great guy. He can be a bit talkative sometimes.
He can be a chatty one. Yeah.
Yeah, he can be
for
chatty.
sure.
Chatty. But I
All
think
right.
Joe would admire his skills. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, there would be some admiration there.
Yeah.
We're going to end up with something we call 3 quick hits, and I'm going
Okay.
to ask you 3 questions, And I want you to put yourself in both characters in their heads here. We'll back and forth for Elvis and Joe.
Okay.
We'll start with Elvis. What's uh, what's Elvis Cole's favorite cocktail? What does he like to drink?
Scotch on the rocks or beer?
Okay. How about Joe?
Beer.
Yeah. Okay. What's Elvis's favorite music? What does he listen to?
60s rock.
Okay. And Joe?
60s rock.
Okay. And then Elvis, what's his greatest fear?
Betraying himself.
Yeah, I can see that. And Joe?
Losing Elvis.
Yeah, very true. Thanks. Folks, we've been talking to Robert Crais. Bob's new book, The Big Empty, is out now. This, it, I've been waiting for this one for a while, so thank you for getting this out for us. But this is one people are going to be talking about. It's a really good story, great characters. It's all you could ask for. So thanks, Bob. Appreciate this very much.
Jim, thank you very, very much for saying that. And it's always fun to talk to you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care. We'll see you soon.
You too.